Hello, Patriots. I'm Lee Watts, and this is Patriot Point, your source for Kentucky news and analysis from a conservative Christian and common sense point of view. Giving some things this week, like most weeks, that you are not hearing on the other mainstream media about things going on here in Kentucky. This week, we're going to be talking about how a Kentucky lawmaker has been arrested again. We're going to be talking about how the public schools are planning to put boys in with the girls in gender-inclusive restrooms, and then show you a video you probably haven't seen before about President Trump discussing about this topic here. But first of all, let's talk about how a Kentucky lawmaker has been arrested again. And yes, I say again, is Kentucky State Representative Beverly Chester Burton. Here's her mugshots. One of them's from 2020, and then the other one is from this month in 2024. She's a representative of the 44th District over in Jefferson County. And she's going to have a court date this week because of charges of DUI and reckless driving. She got arrested because she was drinking, and then she swerved her car into oncoming traffic, making other motorists swerve off the road to get around her, and then she just parks in the middle of the road. And here's actually a video of her in 2020. You'll see that there's some people waiting in line in a drive-thru. She comes through drunk, hits the truck, who bashes into the other car. Then she tried to run away and flee the scene, as you can see her car leaving. However, she then went and hit a utility pole, and her car would not go anymore. Wound up being sentenced to 30 days in jail because of that. This time, when she was getting arrested for the DUI and reckless driving, she kept demanding, she's saying, listen, I am Representative Chester Burton, and I demand to speak to the chief of police here in Shively. That's where all of this happened. I don't know, maybe she was wanting to hope that her representative position would get her out of this. With the chief of police, I mean, she could have killed somebody. Driving drunk, going into oncoming traffic, parking in the middle of the road. She kept saying she wanted to talk to the chief of police. She is Representative Chester Burton, and she demands to talk to the chief of police. Probably, I'm guessing, trying to get out of this. But of course, they'd have none of that. She wound up getting arrested anyway. I think if you were to play this out, it might have played out something like this between Representative Burton and the police chief.
If I killed somebody, would you turn me in?
I would turn you in.
You would turn me in?
I wouldn't even think about it.
I can't believe what I'm hearing. You're supposed to be a friend of mine.
Well, what kind of person are you going around killing people?
Well, I'm sure I had a good reason.
Yeah, well, if you'll kill this person, who's to say I wouldn't be next?
But you know me.
I thought I did.
So yes, totally got arrested for this, and I was going to talk about why it might be good to vote for her opponent then in the upcoming election. However, she doesn't have an opponent in the upcoming election. This is a thing to remind all of us that we need to have good, solid candidates file. Even in positions where you think, oh, the other party always wins here in Jefferson County, if we had had another option that could have been voted for, there's a good chance that a Republican might have actually have taken that seat. This is also another good reason why Kentucky should have recall provisions in Kentucky law. We don't have that right now like some other states do. So no matter what a governor does or a senator or any representative, there's no way to have a recall election, but that's something that we should be pushing for here in the state of Kentucky. Let's talk about other big news going on this week and how in the most recent meeting of the Interim Joint Committee on Education that just met, I was in this committee listening to it, the new Commissioner of Education came out and said they're building all the new schools and they're going to have these gender-inclusive, gender-neutral restrooms where the boys and the girls, they're going in the same place. And of course, we got a bunch of parents mad about this idea. You got a bunch of kids scared going into this. Schools are like they were when I was a kid. Some of the worst incidents of abuse and harassment take place in the restrooms. So they had a design drawing that they presented saying, oh, look, this will be an open plan where nothing could happen. However, the design plan that they showed doesn't match what they're actually building, which is an enclosed area. It's got walls on all the sides. Thank the Lord for Senator Gex Williams, who called them out on this. And let me play you what Senator Gex Williams just said during this committee meeting.
You're going to have to prove this to me, two things. If I look at the Britain Middle School as built, it does not look like an open design unless they're going to start knocking some blocks out over those sinks. It is not the open design your architectural models show. Number two, I cannot believe from looking at your other thing that 50% more restrooms are available in individual bathroom configurations. That's just counterintuitive to your models and to my expectation, understanding of construction. Number three, I want to know that if each individual stall has an exhaust system of sufficient size to remove the residual smoke/vaping from the previous occupant who was there after door open and close. So does each individual stall? And if you don't have the answers to these questions, I'll be glad if you send them to me or the rest of the committee later. I'd like to see the facts.
Good for Senator Williams on calling them out, how they're not making these things open plans. They're enclosed. You're putting the boys in with the girls. This is a horrible idea pushing the woke agenda. So what we can do about it? Well, there's another state representative, State Representative Matt Lockett, who represents Jessamine County and part of Fayette County. And he has proposed a bill called Bill Request 23. That is BR 23. That would say, listen, we are not going to do these gender inclusive bathrooms. We're going to keep the boys in the boys and the girls in the girls. So what you can do about this is you can contact your senator or representative up there in Frankfort and encourage them to sign on to BR 23. If you'd like to contact your representatives up there in Frankfort, the phone number for the message center is 1-800-372-7181. The message center is open regular weekdays during normal business hours. And as I always say, when you're contacting one of your representatives, be brief, be courteous, and ask them to contact you back with what they will be doing. So let's support BR 23 to keep the boys out of the girls' restrooms in the public schools. Well, talking about this whole inclusive transgender agenda, which brings up something that we have with the upcoming presidential election. What would be President Trump's position on this type of thing? Well, instead of reporting on it, I thought I'd let you hear it directly from him. So here are the words of President Trump.
The left-wing gender insanity being pushed on our children is an act of child abuse. Very simple. Here's my plan to stop the chemical, physical, and emotional mutilation of our youth. On day one, I will revoke Joe Biden's cruel policies on so-called gender-affirming care. Ridiculous. A process that includes giving kids puberty blockers, mutating their physical appearance, and ultimately performing surgery on minor children. Can you believe this? I will sign a new executive order instructing every federal agency to cease all programs that promote the concept of sex and gender transition at any age. I will then ask Congress to permanently stop federal taxpayer dollars from being used to promote or pay for these procedures and pass a law prohibiting child sexual mutilation in all 50 states. It'll go very quickly. I will declare that any hospital or healthcare provider that participates in the chemical or physical mutilation of minor youth will no longer meet federal health and safety standards for Medicaid and Medicare and will be terminated from the program immediately. Furthermore, I will support the creation of a private right of action for victims to sue doctors who have unforgivably performed these procedures on minor children. The Department of Justice will investigate Big Pharma and the big hospital networks to determine whether they have deliberately covered up horrific long-term side effects of sex transitions in order to get rich at the expense of vulnerable patients, in this case, very vulnerable. We will also investigate whether Big Pharma or others have illegally marketed hormones and puberty blockers, which are in no way licensed or approved for this use. My Department of Education will inform states and school districts that if any teacher or school official suggests to a child that they could be trapped in the wrong body, they will be faced with severe consequences, including potential civil rights violations for sex discrimination and the elimination of federal funding. As part of our new credentialing body for teachers, we will promote positive education about the nuclear family, the roles of mothers and fathers, and celebrating rather than erasing the things that make men and women different and unique. I will ask Congress to pass a bill establishing that the only genders recognized by the United States government are male and female, and they are assigned at birth. The bill will also make clear that Title IX prohibits men from participating in women's sports, and we will protect the rights of parents from being forced to allow their minor child to assume a gender which is new and an identity without the parents' consent. The identity will not be new, and it will not be without parental consent. No serious country should be telling its children that they were born with the wrong gender, a concept that was never heard of in all of human history. Nobody's ever heard of this, what's happening today. It was all when the radical left invented it just a few years ago. Under my leadership, this madness will end. Thank you very much.
Another solid reason to vote for President Trump in the upcoming elections. Let's get out of this woke agenda that is trying to push in everything. And for Kentucky public schools, let's keep the boys in the boys' restroom and the girls in the girls' restroom. If you like to keep it that way, help support BR 23. Well, until next week, Patriots, I'm Lee Watts for Patriot Point, reminding you that liberty is not a spectator sport.